Hi, and welcome to Cellar Notes. I'm Blair, and today we're joined by Jake Bilbo from Marietta. Hi,
How are ya?
welcome. Jake is a part of the great Marietta family of wines. They have vineyards out in California, Sonoma County. It's a family-owned business.
Correct.
I believe you have two brothers involved, along with your father, Chris, who is a primary owner, founder, and winemaker.
That's right.
First of all, the Old Vine Red, before we'll get into more detail later, but right now I want to say this is one of Lakeville's favorite go-to red wines. It's a blended red wine. It's relatively inexpensive and always has high quality, and that's why it's easy to recommend. It's easy for people to drink and enjoy on a regular basis. So my compliments to you for that one. But first of all, before we get going too far, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved, what you're up to. Oh, by the way, his title is Gopher. It even says it on his business card, but he does much more than that. He goes for, you know, around the country, and he goes from here to there. So what else do you do?
I guess in some people's estimations, I do more than that. In my father's estimations, I'm the gopher. I've been working for my dad for 12 years. I do all of our sales, so I do go around the country a lot. But with both of my brothers coming in to work with us, between them over the last 3 years, it's been a very good thing on a number of fronts, but for me especially, it allows me to spend a little bit more time at home, where my secondary responsibility is all of our vineyards. And so, first and foremost, I'm still the guy out there, especially here in Minnesota, but it's nice having my little brother Sam, especially, who I can send out to some of the places, which allows me to be home a little more.
So you can pay attention to your family and the vineyards while Sam's out doing a little bit running around.
You ask me what else I do besides just selling wine. A 2-year-old and a pregnant wife comes into play somewhere.
I would imagine that keeps you pretty busy too.
There you go. There you go.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Marietta, how it got started, how that all developed?
My dad has a master's degree in hospital administration, and in the 70s, he was working in Glen Ellen and working at the hospital, and he loved the business, didn't like the papers that he was having to sign and push and all of the bureaucracy involved. So he quit, and he bought 10 barrels, and he went to a local grower who we still buy fruit from today, and he said, I don't have any money, but if you give me your fruit this year, I'll try to make wine, and if I can sell it, I'll pay you back, and then I'll buy your fruit next year. And the local grower, who had just inherited his family's ranch, said, well, I don't have anybody to buy the fruit, so let's give it a go. And it kind of started and grew and built from there. It was obviously a very different time in the wine world, and,
sure.
and we were very fortunate that that would be a little harder to do that today. But
you know, great timing. You know, the two guys looking to get started and come up with something great like this.
Absolutely.
The wines that Marietta actually makes now are all red wines.
Correct.
From Petite to Zinfandel, Cabernets. I think you're probably most famous for blending wines like the Old Vine Red, the Angela Cuvée, which is on several of our employees here, you know, their favorite high dollar, if you want to say that kind of wine.
Sure.
They love it. It's really good wine. Can you tell us a little bit about what goes in the process of the blending, how you decide what I don't know if you're involved. I know that you do a lot in the vineyards and stuff.
Sure.
But as far as the blending goes and the actual winemaking process, how you decide which grapes, what proportions, or is it a matter of just sitting down at the table and trying?
Sometimes it's that easy, though not all the time. But on the good days, it's just that easy. You can sit down and away we go. Everything that we make is a blend in some fashion. So Old Vine Red, obviously, being our main production, and it's our biggest blend. But from a winemaking perspective, my dad's strength really is a blender. We don't make any single vineyard designate wines. It's not our goal to get technical, to really exhibit the terroir, so to speak. What we really try to do is offer a real consistent product, and the way to do that with wine, which changes from year to year, is to blend. And again, going back to, fortunately, that's my dad's strength. So even the Zinfandel, the Petit Syrah, the Cabernet, they're all blends of, our Cabernet has some Merlot in it, our Zinfandel has some Petit Syrah in it. The Angela Cuvée, which is a similar blend to Old Vine Red in a lot of respects, although it's our smallest production and it's our oldest fruit that goes into that blend. It's got Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, and Carignan in it. like I said, on the easy days, it's just sitting down and little this, little that, it goes together. Sometimes you got to get a little bit more creative, but even with Old Vine Red, we're very fortunate having had the same winemaker for 32 years, obviously Dad, that he's figured it out pretty well these days. So you can never just say it's a simple recipe, but he knows which of this and which of that to throw together, and then how to go from there.
And like you said, from year to year, the grapes are going to be can be completely different. I mean, you might want to go, 60% of Zinfandel this year because it was great with Zinfandel, and then the next year there's a different flavor profile to the Zinfandel, so you might have to back it up with something else.
Absolutely. If one year your Zinfandel is very fruit forward and very expressive and very ripe, you're going to add a little bit more Petit Syrah to give it a little bit more structure and a little bit more body. If another year the Zinfandel, for example, didn't come in at as high of a sugar, you're going to add some Grenache or some Gamay, which is going to offer a lot of fruit and help to rebuild that blend. All of these wines, again, the focus being that they're blended wines, is that we want our consumers to know every time that they go get Old Vine Red, it's going to taste like Old Vine Red. If they go to our Zin, it's always going to be the same taste in Zinfandel. So we do anything and everything we can to ensure that, which always means that we're doing something different because every year it's different.
Right. So Dad's goal then from year to year is to maintain that high quality and try to keep a similar flavor profile that the consumers have come to know and love.
Very much so. I think that's in a lot of ways the backbone of our business. I mean, we do not produce a single vineyard designate wine where we want people to know the very famous vineyard and see what it does every year. What we want people to know is that, oh, it's Marietta. I know what that tastes like. I've had that before, and we do everything we can to keep that style going.
I think consumers really appreciate that too. It's something that they can rely on year after year and know that it's not going to change drastically, and they're going to have to, try something else or learn to like it in a different way.
That's the hope.
We talked earlier about how you are in charge of the vineyard structure too. About how many acres do you actually?
We have 130 acres of vineyard. Mm-hmm. Again, starting out with 0, we've been very fortunate over the years. One of the biggest reasons that we've been able to be consistent with our product, in addition to having the same winemaker, being my dad, is that he started with nothing, but over the years, up in northern Alexander Valley, there's a lot of old Italian families up there, a lot of them who didn't have heirs, who my dad bought fruit from a long time, and so over the years, instead of making grape payments, we've started making mortgage payments. And it's worked out well on both accounts. The families live in their homes, they do that sort of thing. We have more guarantees. Well, we have a complete guarantee that the fruit that we buy one year is the same fruit we're going to be able to use the next year and henceforth and moving forward. So the 130 acres that we've built up over the years have actually all been vineyards that we've been buying from a long time prior.
That's a great relationship to have.
Definitely.
Yeah, helps with the consistency. Let's talk a little bit about the production then. Obviously, your Old Vine Red is going to be your highest producer. About how many cases do you put out a year of that?
Old Vine Red is non-vintage, and it's also in a lot system. So this is lot 51, which is our most current release. So we are actually releasing somewhere between 2 to 3 Old Vine Reds per year. Each release is about 12,000 cases. So we can do a decent amount of volume there. In comparison, for example, in an entire year with Angelique Cuvée, we might do 1,200 cases. Oh. So 4 to 6 months we can do, in the thousands here. We're much smaller with the Angelique Cuvée and with the varietals. The Petit Syrah, we do 1,500 cases for the year. The Zinfandel's about 1,800 cases. Again, being in Minnesota, which we'll talk about a little bit more later though, in most other places in the country, the availability of our wines is not what it is here. We work very hard to keep Minnesota in stock, and especially with Old Vine Red, you guys definitely get the lion's share.
And why is that? What is your #1 market share in the United States? See, what area would that be?
There you go. Very, very happily, out of all 50 states, Minnesota is our #1 market. We by a long shot.
Wonderful.
Yep. A long time ago, for some reason, my dad came here and you guys all started liking whatever he was making, and it's just continued. I come here once a year at least and do everything we can, and it's a true pleasure to do so. I get to wear my jeans, and at the most I have to tuck my shirt in, and I can be very relaxed, and it's a nice way to do business.
Well, we like having you here, and we're glad that we get the lion's share too, because we do appreciate it here in Minnesota.
There you go.
Your production has stayed I don't know if it stayed the same, but you haven't, you know, expanded. You're not some giant corporate, you know, trying to take over the world, which we've talked about. But are there future plans for upping production or expanding the line or doing something different, or do you like where you are, you know, your niche, and you're going to stay there?
I'd say in the next 2 years we probably want to triple production and double our prices.
No, don't do that.
I'm just kidding.
Everybody else has tried that.
Yeah, there you go. No, we've been in the business for 30 years, and the way we've done that is to, if we grow very slowly and be very, very, very committed to our price. And we don't change our price. And we don't have any intentions of changing at all. With both of my brothers on board now as well, as my dad likes to say, he's got his kids through college. He's getting closer to retirement, and it looks like everything is going to pencil out. And so why change it? You know, the quote unquote American dream that a lot of people chase, where you got to get bigger, you got to do more. For us, this is really what we as a family enjoy doing and love to do. And the best way to make that, you know, the case for another 30 years to come is to stay real true to what you're doing and growing bigger and making more and charging more is in our idea a way to not ensure that that's going to happen. So we're definitely staying just like we're doing. We're very happy.
Good deal. You know, there's another American saying as well: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's
and you
right.
guys are doing a great job.
That's
Jake,
right.
I want to thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming and watching us on Cellar Notes.